G'day guys, Mike here. Thank you for coming back to my channel, and thank you to everyone who checked out my last video, which was a definitive list of my top 10 Generation 1 Pokemon. Go check that out if you haven't already, and that's what I do on this channel, just different pop culture discussion videos and things like that, as well as my podcast. And thanks to everyone who subscribed. I'm now up to 612 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe now. I really would love to get to 1,000 this year so I can monetize my channel. That would make it all really, really worthwhile. But enough about that, because today I am doing a discussion on the brand new Pixar film, Soul. Soul came out on December 25th, Christmas Day, on Disney+, and I think I watched it either that night or the night after. And I have a lot of thoughts on this one, so let's get straight into it. So I'd like to preface this by saying that I am a huge fan of animation in film. I love Pixar films, I love Disney films, Studio Ghibli, all that kind of thing I really love. I really like the creativity behind these films. I really like seeing different styles of animation or the way that animation can be used in film. So I always make a point to see these movies as soon as I can. I don't believe there are any Pixar films that I haven't seen. I'm fully up to date. And the reason I want to talk about the past decade or so of Pixar is because I feel like it really informs how I read and responded to the movie Soul. Because in the last decade or so, a lot of Pixar's output has been predominantly sequels/prequels or side stories to original amazing films they did, such as Monsters Inc., The Incredibles, and etc., with Monsters University, The Incredibles 2, Cars 2 and 3, Finding Dory, and Toy Story 4. It seemed like a lot of the 2010s was Pixar trying to recapture the magic of some of their earlier franchises like Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, and etc., but I never really felt like they did any of them particularly well. I don't think movies like Finding Dory or Incredibles 2 are bad films. Well, actually, I do think Incredibles 2 was not a very good film, but I don't think they're good films, and I do think they were kind of cheap in what Pixar was trying to do, which was capitalize on the nostalgia for these franchises, which a lot of films are doing. So I totally understand why they're doing it. It's a much less risky move to do commercially. And of the 6 films out of 12 in the last decade or so of Pixar that were original stories, that's Brave, Inside Out, The Good Dinosaur, Coco, Onward, and Soul, I would have to say that the ones that stood out to me the most were The Good Dinosaur. I know that might be controversial because people don't seem to like that one, and Coco. I think they are 2 of the strongest Pixar films. So when I saw Soul and I saw all the positive reviews that Soul was getting and all the positive reception it was getting, I was really excited. A lot of people were calling it a return to form for Pixar. I was really, really excited for it. And when I watched it, I was just kind of disappointed because to me, it just felt like another attempt for Pixar to deliberately do something that was meaningful. I'll use Inside Out as an example for what I'm talking about here. Inside Out is a really good, fun movie, but I think it misses the mark in what Pixar was originally trying to achieve with films like Toy Story and Monsters Inc. and Finding Nemo. I just think that by literally embodying emotions of humans like happy and sad and literally naming your characters that, you're essentially spelling out exactly what you want the audience to feel and why. I don't think there's any subtlety in the message to Inside Out, whereas if you take something like Toy Story, there's so much subtlety to the characters, to the story, to everything in that, right? If you take something like Monsters Inc., there's so much in there with the relationship between Sully and Boo. Whereas I just feel like Inside Out was deliberately trying to recreate that magic and make it as in your face as possible. I don't think it's a bad movie, I just didn't think it was amazing. And I kind of feel like Soul is doing the same thing that Inside Out did, which is where the nuance and meaning of the film is so blatantly in your face. There is no subtlety to it at all. And it just kind of doesn't hit home for me. Don't get me wrong, I thought this movie was good and fun and it was engaging and I enjoyed it. But in terms of what I know the old Pixar can do and what I got real glimpses of in The Good Dinosaur and Coco specifically, I just didn't think this was there. There was no nuance, there was no subtlety. It was just hey, I'm gonna live my life. Now I know. I've learnt my lesson and I'm gonna live my life to the fullest because I've learnt my lesson from all these adventures. It just spelled it out for you at the end. Compare this to the ending to the movie that I believe was Pixar's last perfect film, Toy Story 3, which is my favorite Pixar film. And that's a film where a beloved group of characters comes to an end. Their story comes to an end, ignoring Toy Story 4, of course. But take a scene like when the toys are all in the garbage incinerator holding hands. No words are spoken in that moment. It's purely just the looks on their faces and them holding hands and them looking teary-eyed and scared, and the music and the flames that creates the emotion of that moment. No words need to be said about what they're feeling and what they're thinking. It's just very, very clear without having to literally tell the audience exactly. It's the classic thing of show, don't tell. Soul feels very derivative and very deliberately blatant in its message, and it's a fun film. I think kids would like it. There's a lot of really cool animation styles with some of the characters in like the afterlife area, and there's also a lot of really great music in it. I mean, the whole movie is about music, but not even just like when the main character is playing the piano and the jazz music, but like when he's in the afterlife kind of area, there's a lot of really great synthy electro jazz sounds that I've never really heard before, and it was really, really, really cool. But at the end of the day, it just felt so shallow. Like I said, like that last moment where he says, I'm gonna live my life, was so shallow. And compare that again to something like the ending to Coco, where the main character Miguel sings the song Remember Me, which is a motif in the film that continues to recur and recur in different styles. And then he just plays this slow, acoustic, and teary ballad to his grandmother Coco, Remember Me. It's such a beautiful and poignant moment in that film where no real explanation is needed because you've got all this build-up throughout the film. That is the true Pixar magic. Or even the moment in The Good Dinosaur where the boy is explaining to Arlo, I believe the main dinosaur's name is, that his parents are dead. He can't speak, so he does it by putting sticks into the sand and pushing the bigger sticks over. And then Arlo does the exact same, and they find this point of commonality that both of their parents were dead. And no real words are spoken between them, but they both understand each other, as does the audience. Like, the message doesn't have to be spelled out the way that Soul literally did. Overall, like, Soul is a decent film. Like, please don't get me wrong. This is a good Pixar film. I also thought Onward was a good Pixar film. I think I preferred Onward, though, of the last two Pixar films. But I think Soul is overrated for those reasons. Look at things like Toy Story 3, Coco, and of course, The Good Dinosaur. Don't go past The Good Dinosaur. It is a really, really good film. And then compare it to Soul. I think you will see what I'm talking about. There's just a little bit more subtlety to it. But I'm happy for you to disagree. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thumbs up this video. There's another video coming tomorrow. I'm trying to do vids every weekday. My podcasts are back next week. Thank you for subscribing and checking my stuff out. I really appreciate it. I will catch you soon. Have a great day.
But I went to run my hand through your hair and I noticed you were attached to string. You were a puppet this whole time, you were attached to string.